Hey guys, welcome to CreateZim, and we are doing something new. We are having a discussion with a mixture of young adults and a practitioner. Today, our discussion is productivity. What does productivity look like now? For some people, it could be really good. People are learning new skills. For other people, it could be quite difficult. They're wondering how they can find motivation to actually get their uni work done or do other things. So today I have some guests, and I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves. We'll start with our practitioner, Clement.
Hello, guys, and hello all over the world. I'm Clement Nunzi, and I'm an occupational therapist and a lecturer at the University of Zimbabwe. I'm also researching in mental health issues of young adults in substance use and HIV. And today I look forward to this creative engagement about productivity in the time of the COVID pandemic.
Hi guys, my name is Rutendo Duri. I'm a student from Zimbabwe and currently I am living in Manchester, United Kingdom. I study mechatronic engineering. I'm in my final year. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Guys, my name is Velile Malaba. I am a third-year student at the University of Cape Town. Currently, I'm in Joburg during this pandemic. And yeah, I'm studying law.
Hi guys, my name is Lebohang Wamuka. I'm a student at the University of Essex in the UK, studying creative writing, and currently I'm back home in Zimbabwe, and yeah, I'm just happy to be part of the discussion. Well, for me personally, it's been difficult as far as schoolwork goes. Because usually you're in an environment that is kind of more conducive to working. So being back home, I am happy to be back home. I'm with my family, and home is home. You're always happy to be back home, but it does definitely make it more difficult to stay in that mindset of, okay, I have this assignment to do. I have to study for these exams, and so it's been a big shift in that regard. But it ultimately comes down to adjustment, really. You get more time to get involved in things you're interested in, so you have more time to learn new hobbies, learn new skills. So it's important to make sure that you use that time to be productive. And it's not always easy when you're stressed or concerned about a literal global pandemic that's going on. But I do believe that it's important to focus on that being the priority, to make sure that you keep your mind active, because that's the best way to take your mind off of the things that stress you out. So that's sort of been my main experience thus far.
And on my end, in terms of productivity, it has been very difficult. I won't lie. The first couple of days it was a lot. But thankfully, which is weird, but thankfully we've been given quite a bit of work to do. So like personally, I'm one of those people who doesn't like being left behind in anything. So like just the thought of being left behind and having to catch up and then cram everything has just like kept me on my toes. I've made a timetable trying to balance my work. And then with other things, it has been a lot more difficult, I won't lie, because the other things don't have exams. For example, like I've been trying to like keep fit and stuff, but there's no fitness for exams or anything like that. So it's literally now it's you against the goals that you set for yourself. So I think it has been difficult to be productive, but I think keeping yourself in the giving, as Lebo was speaking about earlier, like in terms of environments, it's challenging. But if you give yourself and create the right environment around you, i.e. with the people around you that you're with, family, if you guys can all like sit together and try and come up with something that makes the environment conducive for like being productive, it really helps. So yeah, in terms of productivity, for me, that's what I have to say.
Okay. I would say for me, it's been really, really, really difficult. Mostly because I live by myself. I had like 4 flatmates, but they all left because they were students from here. So they left. So my support system, like the feeling lonely, it was just really terrible. I mean, the first few weeks I would try and push and do some things. And, you know, like you guys were talking about creating a routine. I'd run, I would go work out in the park and stuff. But then I am diagnosed with a depressive disorder. So that just made it really worse. And I've had to like be put on medication and all that. So being productive has been really hard because our university, Terry and I's university, they canceled exams for my course. So I didn't have, like you guys were saying, you were given lots of work to do. I only had like 3 assignments, but I had to keep on asking for extensions and extensions. So I'll say productivity is really hard, but what I've been doing is trying to get a support system that like holds me accountable to do certain things. So, you know, I'll have my friend call me and say eat, and have a friend call me and say let's exercise together on the phone. And I have a friend who's studying the same course as me, and will say let's do some work until like, I can do bit by bit and try to be productive. But I'll say like it's been really difficult. Yeah.
And Clement, how's it been for you? You're obviously doing research and work.
Yeah, I would like to confess that the bottom line of it all is not the same. It's not business as usual. Productivity has actually gone down in the sense that there's a lot that I need to juggle, but juggling it without a structure of how to put things around, because work has been known traditionally that it organizes people's behavior. So if you take away the routine work, you're left with what you think is a lot of free time, but it's actually no time. As you try to account for that, you start to see that you're lagging behind in a lot of things. So I also happen to be a PhD student at the University of Cape Town, and I'm now in my writing stage. So to write, to wake up and write, and you think you have the whole day to write, and then you account for it, you wouldn't have done much about it, because you are also out there in the COVID situation. I am also consulting with the Ministry of Health in the role of occupational therapy in managing COVID in Zimbabwe. So I also wake up to some of the tasks which just throw themselves in my way when I have not prepared for it. The ministry calls in and tells me they want me to work on this document, but my diary wouldn't have to be having that. Then I also get some moments where I'm supervising students at the University of Zimbabwe. So one of the students just pops in an email and they ask you to look at their work. So at the end of the day, your work has to be, you know, rescheduled and rescheduled and rescheduled, and that affects a lot of productivity. How am I trying to go about that? I'm trying to make every day a working day. So I actually wake up and get dressed, prepare for work, and come to work from the office. So when I started that technique, I've seen a lot of productivity in what I'm doing. So I'm now trying to work away from home and come to the office at the university and work from there.
In my ends, personally, I have been procrastinating. So I do have like a couple of like new skills that I wanted to pick up. For example, studying in South Africa, it's quite difficult. Like just in terms, like socially, I wanted to learn like a South African language. So I've been asking my friends and stuff, like what books they used in matric and all of that to learn the language. But I won't lie, like I haven't been totally honest with myself. So it has been difficult, but like it's a work in progress. So that's one of the new skills that I aim to pick up. But otherwise, I won't lie, I've been enjoying before school started, I was watching television, Netflix, and all of that. So I didn't really have time to pick up any new skills besides that.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that as far as my own situation goes. I actually want to address something that Rutendo said earlier in her statement, where she spoke about going through, depressive disorder and being on medication. Because as someone that suffers from anxiety and depression myself, I'm also on medication, and a lot of the time, the medication that I'm on will affect my sleep. So I won't get a full night's sleep. That'll affect how I go through my day. So a lot of the time I'll just be really tired throughout the day, and that stops me from being productive. So as how that relates to, learning new skills, it did make it more difficult at the start, because at the start of the pandemic, I actually needed to increase my dosage of medication, just because my anxiety had just gone up, just because of everything was just so crazy. And so that's something my therapist advised. And so it was really hard at the start, because a lot of my days just ended up being disrupted. Like Velile, I was watching like way too much TV. I was watching series. I'm a big anime fan, so I was just like binging different anime. And so yeah, I was finding it hard to find ways to be productive. But as time progressed and I started to see what other people were doing, and seeing that, like Terry, you were saying, people learning a new language, and Velile, you also saying learning a new language, and just new skills in general, I just figured, it's really important to do with all the extra time that I have. So that's something I've been trying to do. I've been trying to write more, in terms of writing my own scripts and screenplays. I've been spending more time playing basketball, because it's a sport that I've just kind of, in the last year or so, I've just kind of fallen in love with that sport. So I've been spending a lot more time doing that, just out in the court, just training. And I do want to relearn French, because I kind of stopped doing French like 6 years ago. So that's something I kind of want to get back into, and hopefully I can pick up on some of the things I learned back then, and just kind of relearn that language. Because yeah, learning a language is super helpful. Like Velile was saying, it's a very effective tool to have. So yeah, that's something I want to do.
It's like the ball is reading my mind, like literally the same experience. Like the beginning of the lockdown, I was also like, my dosage was increasing, it's still increasing. And like Lib was saying, like anxiety kind of like gets worse every time you like, well, for me personally, it like gets worse every time I increase my dosage, and like I have to adjust the medication and all that, and also sleeping patterns. I'd say in terms of the anxiety, like what Terry was saying, that like what other people were doing, I had this mindset, like I want to do all these things, because I wanted to like work on my fitness, learn a new programming language, cook more things, because I do have a cooking blog or whatever. And because of my anxiety, like I couldn't do that. And I'd say it's getting better now. I have started like a blog, and I'd say like, in the beginning, I was like, there was a lot of comparison to what other people were doing, like on social media. Like there was this whole, I don't know if you guys are like Twitter users, but like on Twitter, you'd see people saying, you could use this time to do A, B, C, D. You could use this time to learn a thing instead of just binging on Netflix and watching anime. But like that not like hurt my feelings, but like I'd say it kind of upset me, because I was thinking not everyone is okay with what is currently happening in the world right now. Like for some people, being in the outside world is what helped them cope. Like having to go to uni is what made you cope. So now when you're at home alone, it's hard to be productive. And at some point, people did start to like realize that, okay, it's okay to not be okay in the pandemic, because we can't be forcing people, telling people that they're just lazy if they can't pick up a hobby, or if they can't do A, B, C, D, because essentially, like, I would think like, you know, the mental health right now, like the general population has been, like, I don't know, going downhill. And, you know, so I say, yeah, like, you know, it's okay to want to pick up something and to want to do something, but I had to learn to stop comparing myself to people and know my own situation and do what I can. Yeah. So.
So thank you, Tersero, for that. And thank you for the insights or the learners. But the major element that I would like to point out to is humans are unique by nature and they cope by different ways, which need an individual to identify what works best for one another. So I would start with, do you know yourself? If you know yourself, you plan better on what suits you. You are not going to be swayed by what others are doing, because for others, it's going to be ample time to try out new stuff. For other people, it's going to be time that is even crippling. To have so much time that you don't know how to use can be crippling. So we need to understand who we are and how do we respond to situations. Historical perspective of how you have done in similar situations helps a lot. So I would advise people to do reflective practice. Go back into your life journey and see where you came across something of this nature, how you managed to maneuver that. What was most working out of that? Well, most of the solutions can be derived from your past experiences. You can learn a bit, one or two from other people, but most of the things are to do with how do you do well in similar situations as an individual. The other part that I would like to point out to is about you striking a balance in your life. So it's not only about productivity. You also need to know that I need to do well in self-care, just looking after myself. The natural grooming, you know, waking up, feeding myself, getting a bit of entertainment dose. You need to understand that I need enough rest, not just sleep. Rest seated there without anything clogging your mind, trying to block it by relaxation and meditation. You need that time. You need also time for engagement in play. Okay, adult play can look funny, but you need time to play. You can play online, you can play on games, you can play on social media with colleagues, you can play alone. Press the music button and have time to play and dance. That helps you to reorient your calendar and be productive in other sectors. You also need to set time for educational engagements. So educational engagements, to other people, it might look like what we are talking of, productivity. But that needs to be having time for it. It need not be every time that you have that is oriented to that. So that's the concept about occupational balancing and having a routine in that. Then I will move on to how you structure your day. So COVID is crippling in the sense that people are diverting from the normal structure of the day. They wake up late and they sleep late, and that disorients everything. So to cope with the COVID situation, try to go back to the normal routine. Wake up early, take shower. If you are the one person who does exercises, wake up early, do the exercises, go for shower, and have your breakfast the normal times that you used to have. Don't think that you have a lot of time and then you sleep. That ends up having a lot of things that books up your day. The other thing that you also need to pay attention to is that you need to work with a schedule. So activity scheduling is very important in enhancing your productivity. You can't be doing things willingly. So I was washing clothes, then I decided it's now time to watch Netflix, but it wasn't there on my calendar. Then from there, I'm on a WhatsApp call, and from there, I'm trying to relax on the couch. That disorients everything. You need to work with a schedule. So from this time to this time, I'm going to be doing this. And be disciplined enough to follow your own schedule that you set. Then for other people, I would say be kind to yourself. It's another way of enhancing your productivity. There's no reason for you people to be so hard on themselves. I failed to do this, I failed to do this. So all the evaluations they make on themselves are so negative. People need to wake up to the idea or the practice of praising themselves. Focus on those niches where you are doing well and say a lot of positive things about yourself. When people feel good about themselves, they are productive. I think you can relate to me in your studies. At that moment when you are feeling good about yourself, you are so productive and you are doing well. Then to create that environment for yourself. Then the other point, I think it was mentioned by other speakers, of creating an environment that is conducive for what you want to do. Okay? So if I want quiet time, focused attention, I need to create an environment that facilitates that. You need to be in a space where you block out everything and focus. If you are in an environment that is always calling you to attend to this, to that, and that, you're likely to be distracted, and at the end of the day, you're not going to be productive. You need to be so disciplined about that. I will then conclude with the point of sleep hygiene. Most of the people are not productive during the day because they have not re-energized the mind during the sleep time. If you are having problems with sleeping, follow the basic steps of preparing yourself for a good sleep. A good sleep is prepared from the time you wake up. So you wake up and you start to think about engagement so that the sleeping time can be proper sleeping time. When you wake up and you move out of your bedroom, if you have the luxury of doing so, that makes the bedroom a sleeping environment. You're not going to be waking in bed. That's a maladaptive sleeping practice that you'll be implementing. If you want to work, get out of the bed. Go and sit on a desk. You are preparing the bed for sleep. People go to bed with their phones and they think, okay, let me now chat with family at home as I doze, then finalize. That's bad sleep hygiene. Take off all social media out of your bedroom when it's time to sleep. You're preparing. It's hard. I know people will say that's the time I catch up and things like that. But that's what is disturbing your sleep. When you find you are in bed for more than 20 minutes without sleeping, get out of bed, go into a quiet room and restart the sleeping cycle. Listen to some soft music, read something that is relaxing as you prepare to sleep. What you cannot do is to be in bed without sleeping. Okay? If you have the luxury of dimming the lights towards sleeping time, do that. If you have the opportunity to go for a warm shower before you go to bed, do that. If you have the opportunity of having a light snack before going to bed, do that, because that prepares you for a good sleep, and a good sleep is a foundation for a productive day the following day. I think I can highlight on those ones and expand as questions come.
When you say like switch off your lights and all that, is there like any way, like when let's say you can't sleep at all, would you like suggest like getting out of bed and like walking up and down until you're tired, or like, well, if you can't at all? Because I find that I can't sleep until I have to wait until my body like exhausts itself most of the time. So would you have like any advice on that?
Yeah, thanks, Rutendo, for that question. It's common practice, and many people who have mood disorders that affect their sleep patterns suffer of those sleep insomnia and things like that. The advice that I've seen work with my clients in practice is to move into another area of the room or of the house where you engage in productive, mentally engaging activities to utilize the activity that you still have in your mind. It needs to be utilized and be put to good use. So you are not going to be just idle there in bed and whiling up time. Other people, like what I mentioned in the beginning, it's about knowing what works best for you. So you have to be experimenting about your behavior. Some people who sleep if they read difficult stuff, so that you just go out of the room and read new stuff, and then they'll start to fall asleep. And other people who go into another room, and even just sitting outside of the bedroom, they will start to doze. Other people will go and watch, slow movies and things like that, and they will start to doze. And other people can even need the body to be physically tired for them to be able to sleep. So it's also a question of what works well for who. Then other people whom I've seen who actually need the enhancement of medication, which might be a question of if the insomnia is now affecting functionality and is impairing your functional level, then it might need actually consultation with the psychiatrist for you to get some pharmacotherapy to manage that. But normally, moving out of the room, trying to dim the lights into the new room where you're moving into, and creating that slow, relaxed environment normally taps people into sleep.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Clement.
How do you help young adults like us, especially Rutendo and I, who go through anxiety and depression, who need medication, and who have this as the reason for struggles with productivity and just getting through the day? Like, what advice do you give people like us?
Yeah, so the advice that I would give you is to be in control of your medication. So medication adherence, number one, because all the other therapies, you would see that they work best when we have managed to control the physiological and the biological mechanisms of the disease, and the medication will do that part. On the other part of being productive in the light of a medical underlying condition, it's also a question of knowing yourself and what works best for you. Number one that I would do for people is not to always put blame on the condition, but use other means of scheduling and structuring your day so that it doesn't always boil down to this is happening because I have the condition. Try other means to cover up for the fallback on the condition. Schedule the activities, use a diary, be disciplined in following whatever goals that you set. And also don't push yourself so much in a way that it ends up stressing you not to deliver when you are using a lot of effort. Then the other part that I would use is management through use of social support structures. When you have people to fall back on, utilize those resources. You have that core, you have that, maintain the uplifted spirit always, because that helps you to be very productive in all other sectors. And also researching about your condition can also help. Don't overdo it, but do it in a way that information that liberates is part of your life, so that you know what to fall back on when things go the other way. And then I think I would conclude by, consultation with your service provider, your therapist, your occupational therapist, and your psychologist would also help in those situations, because they will tailor make an intervention for what you'll be presenting with at that moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clement, Rutendo, Velile Lebo, thank you so much for your time and the discussion. I really appreciate it. CreateZim really appreciates it. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for this, Terry. Thank you, guys.